morning, everybody. Today is Wednesday, June 11th, and this is your Arkansas Daily Briefing. It is a full moon tonight. It's the June full moon, which is also the strawberry moon. So if you're out and about, take a look up at the sky. I think we're going to have clear skies in most of Arkansas. And if you like to fish, it is a great day for fishing. All right, so let's jump in to what we've got going on. Arkansas's request to become one of the first states in the country to stop letting SNAP benefits be used to buy sugary drinks, candy, and junk food was approved this week by the USDA. That ban will start July 1st of next year, 2026, and it will extend for 5 years. Now, Arkansas is not the first on this. Similar bans are already in place in Indiana, Iowa, and Nebraska, and more requests like Arkansas's were approved in Idaho and Utah. Now, why does this matter for Arkansas? Well, it's kind of a big deal because in Arkansas, 1/3 of Arkansans have diabetes or prediabetes, and more than 1/3 of our children are obese or overweight. According to Governor Sarah Sanders, about 23% of food stamp spending goes to junk food, sodas, and desserts. That's about $27 billion a year that is spent on that unhealthy food. A Stanford study had found that a change like this would prevent obesity in about 141,000 children and 281,000 adults, and it would prevent almost 250,000 adults from developing type 2 diabetes. Now, when you consider that there's a lot of crossover between people on food stamps and people on Medicaid or otherwise publicly funded health care, that represents a big savings in taxpayer dollars. And that's what Governor Sanders said, that the aim of the ban isn't to dictate what people can buy with their own money, but it is to ensure that taxpayer dollars are used responsibly and that Arkansans are healthier. All right, moving over to a couple of political stories, both involving Senator Fred Love, a Democrat from Little Rock. His lawsuit against Pulaski County was thrown out by a federal judge in Little Rock on Monday. That's Chief U.S. District Judge Christine Baker, and she threw out nearly every part of Senator Love's lawsuit that accused top Pulaski County officials of racial discrimination, political retaliation, and forcing Love to resign after he claimed fraud was happening in the county's housing program. Judge Baker ruled Monday that Love didn't offer enough evidence to support any of his federal claims. The only part she didn't dismiss outright was a state whistleblower claim, and even that was tossed without prejudice, meaning it could be refiled in state court, but it won't move forward in federal court. On to the facts of the case. Love worked as Director of Community Services for the county, and he said that the county attorneys created a hostile work environment, that he and other Black employees were paid less than white colleagues with similar roles, and that he was pushed out after trying to expose wrongdoing in the Section 8 housing program. Now, the events go back to July of last year when Love fired 3 employees he said were tied to possible fraud in the housing voucher system. He said he was later confronted over an unrelated case involving the disabled son of a deputy county attorney. That attorney's son had received a housing voucher, and that attorney was listed as his landlord. Now, no laws were broken there, but Love said he was told that the optics were bad, and he should have reported that as a potential conflict. The next day, according to the lawsuit, the county judge told Love that it was best that he resign. He was basically given a choice to resign voluntarily or to be fired, so Love resigned. But then he sued the county. Judge Baker did not buy his retaliation argument. She said that Love failed to prove that his resignation was caused by his prior protected conduct, meaning his whistleblowing. She said the timeline and evidence suggested he was asked to resign because he didn't disclose a potential conflict of interest inside his department. As for the pay disparity claims, Baker said Love hadn't identified any white employees with the same level of responsibility, experience, or background, and because he didn't file a complaint with the EEOC, She said that claim couldn't even be considered. Love had also accused county officials of denying his request for family leave after he adopted a child, but the judge didn't find evidence that this was racially motivated either. So what's left is just the Arkansas Whistleblower Act claim. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, even that was dismissed from federal court. If Love wants to keep fighting, he'll have to refile that part in state court. So staying with Senator Love, he is term limited, which means that he's out of the state legislature at the end of this year, and his wife, ShaRhonda Love, wants to take over his seat. That is State Senate District 15. But Mrs. Love is not alone, however. She'll have to beat State Representative Tara Shephard in a Democratic primary to get the chance. Mrs. Love is the former executive director of the Arkansas Minority Health Commission, and she currently works as the Community Health and Safety Director for Arkansas Children's. In her announcement, she said her focus will be on expanding access to health care and to tackling food insecurity. That's very similar to her opponent, Representative Tara Shephard. She has served in the Arkansas House since 2023 and represents District 79. She works as the Adult Education Director at Shorter College. Now, Shephard made headlines in her first term when her first bill was adopted as model legislation by the U.S. Congress. That bill, now Act 811 of 2023, requires overdose reversal kits at every state-supported high school and college campus. Representative Shephard is also campaigning on issues of food insecurity and support for military families. So far, Shephard has picked up endorsements from several prominent Democrats, including Senator Jamie Scott, former Senator Linda Chesterfield, and former Representative Vivian Flowers. District 15 is expected to be one of the most closely watched Democratic primaries of the 2026 cycle. Now, I mentioned that Senator Love is term limited. He is one of 5 senators who can't seek re-election due to term limits. The others are Senators Jane English, Kim Hammer, Greg Leding, and Reginald Murdoch. So I've got a little PSA for you. If you've received a text claiming that you owe traffic fines in Arkansas, yeah, it's probably a scam. It's supposedly from the non-existent Arkansas Vehicle Administration, and it uses fake ticket numbers and links to trick people into entering personal information. It also purports to be from the Arkansas Department of Transportation, which doesn't actually issue traffic tickets. In reality, the Department of Finance and Administration handles traffic fines, and they do not text you about it. Attorney General Tim Griffin is urging people not to click the links or to send any money, and you can report receiving this scam or other suspected scams at arkansasag.gov. Over to Jefferson County, which is, my goodness, Jefferson County government is a mess right now. It has required special legislation to be written targeting it in the 2025 session to try to head off gross incompetence in county officials. But, well, yeah, it's still happening. The latest Jefferson County Quorum Court meeting was a clown show. One public commenter was tased. 8 of the 13 JPs walked out. And now we have like social media dueling between the county judge and JP's sheriff's office. Something's going on. So what's up down there in Pine Bluff, guys? First of all, this is not new. Earlier this year, the court gridlocked over the county budget, and they failed to pay their employees for months. And that delay wasn't just an oversight. It reflected a breakdown in basic governance. That tension boiled over again Monday evening at the Quorum Court meeting. 8 of the 13 justices staged a planned walkout mid-meeting. They left the room en masse, stripping the court of a quorum. The county judge's veto was effectively ignored when the departing members reassembled quietly 15 minutes later, and they rammed through the budget and employee bonuses. During public comments, Garland Trice refused to yield the microphone, and sheriff's deputies, led by Sheriff Lafayette Woods Jr., forcibly removed Mr. Trice and tased him. Critics, including County Judge Gerald Robinson, say that the force was excessive. County Judge Robinson is already at odds with the Quorum Court, and he called it a violation of Trice's constitutional rights and questioned why the sheriff even intervened. And finally, a word of warning given the political climate we are in. Anti-Trump protests are scheduled to hit 9 cities across Arkansas this Saturday. It's part of the nationwide organized campaign people are calling No Kings rallies. The timing lines up with Donald Trump's planned military parade in Washington, D.C., but the protests are intentionally being held in other places, in places like Fayetteville, Little Rock, Fort Smith, and Jonesboro. While organizers say they want contrast, not conflict, if you've been watching what's happening right now in Los Angeles, protests, of course, in Los Angeles have turned violent with property damage, confrontations, and arrests mounting. What started as activism has in too many places become something much, much uglier. And that's what folks here in Arkansas are starting to worry about. Are we next? I mean, make no mistake, Arkansans value free speech. But of course, we all know there's a line between protest and provocation. When organizers call their event No Kings, they're making a political point and using language that's meant to inflame. And in this national environment, it's not unreasonable to worry that that inflammatory language might work. The hope is simple. Arkansas, let's keep our head even while tempers flare elsewhere. Let's hope that people can disagree without setting fire to someone else's property, and that this weekend doesn't follow the same path that we're watching play out on the West Coast. Now, if you're planning to be there, whether to protest or just to watch, please be safe, be respectful, and remember that we've seen what happens when things get out of hand. Let's not bring that chaos to Arkansas. All right, that's it for your Arkansas Daily Briefing for this Wednesday. Stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow.